Hey guys, Cryptid here, your humble internet drawer, and today we're just jumping directly into the speed draw because turns out I was right, as of course I am about most things. No, but I'm changing my avatar. I'm changing my avatar. I want to make it look a little bit different, but I don't have my new avatars yet. I haven't made them. So I'm sorry if this video is a little bit more low production than what you're used to, maybe a little bit more chill, but we'll make do. We lasted, what, a month with them? 2 months? Time is an illusion. Anyway, if you're here watching this video right now, there's a good chance you've come here from my TikTok, because that is where the party's at. And if you are, thank you, thanks for coming over, great to see you here. And you probably already know what this video is about, but if you don't, here's a rundown. I recently made an animation, which is now actually up on my YouTube channel as well. You can find it there, or you can find it on my TikTok. It's to the song Parents by Youngblood, and it's about my lovely, beautiful boy, Elijah. Essentially his backstory and his poor, miserable childhood. But I got a lot of love on that TikTok when I posted it, and it was just amazing. It was fantastic. I love you guys. I love you all. You're great. You're so kind and lovely. But I got so many people wanting to know the backstory, as I expected, because people did the same thing on my first animation. Because, you know, there's only so much backstory you can fit inside a 25-second animation. And I could have done a TikTok like I did last time, but really this one has, like, this one's deep. This one goes deep. So I just thought I'd make a YouTube video and do a nice speed draw for you guys. So I'll start talking about the backstory in a second, but before I do that, if you're new to my channel, and there's a good chance you are, feel free to drop a like and maybe subscribe if you'd like to see my future videos. So yeah, that's pretty much everything. Let's get to the backstory. So, Elijah. Elijah is one of my OCs, and he is I was about to say he's a lovely, lovely boy. He's actually quite an asshole. But, this is more so about him as a child, because the animation shows him from pretty much birth. There's like a newspaper about his birth up until the story starts in one frame of animation. But it's mainly focused on his teen years, which aren't actually what the main plot of the story itself is about. The story itself starts following him when he's 24 and he's just lost his arm in an air raid of their army base. Okay, so the thing about Elijah's life is that ever since he was born, he was always destined to have a military future, he was born to be general of the army one day, because the army for the country, Gemini, in which the story takes place, is very, very corrupt. It's based on nepotism, which means, like, it's essentially passed down through the family rather than being based on, like, merit and actually being able to run an army, you know, like the sort of thing you'd want your general to be able to do. But Elijah's father, Rieg Becker, is a very famous man because he is general of the army at a time when the whole continent is just plagued by war. It's basically a world war. I'll start from the beginning. Elijah is born during a time of great unrest, which keeps going throughout his entire life. It's just a very long, ongoing war that the world is a part of. And this, of course, makes front page news because the Becker family is very famous and well-respected. Well respected by a very certain group of influential people, if you know what I mean. Elijah is born to the Becker family, and his father is general of the army of Gemini, and Gemini is the name of the country where they live. And Gemini is essentially the United States of this world. The world where this takes place, in my opinion, can be compared to the Cold War era of the real world, in which Gemini is the United States and Scorpio is closer to the USSR, if that makes sense. There's just that sort of... And the Midlands is like everywhere else getting involved with it where they're actually having the wars. That's basically what's going on. So Elijah's father has started a campaign against elves in the Midlands, and Scorpio does not like that, attacks Gemini. It doesn't matter, just Elijah's father is a very influential man, and he is also a very bigoted and horrible man, but he's very charismatic, so the people who agree with him love him a lot, including his family. Like, Elijah, despite the fact that his father would honestly kill him if he found out that he was gay, he still idolizes his father. He hates him, but he idolizes him in a way that is ultimately very self-destructive. In the clips where Elijah is brushing his teeth in front of the mirror, it flashes between pictures, and I'm surprised that nobody asked about this actually. Because Elijah idolizes his father so much, he has desired to be like him from a very young age, and his father has always run a strict regimen when it comes to like diet and exercise for him, because he's going to be general of the army one day, and his father believes strongly in physical fitness and that sort of thing. And so Elijah, at a very young age, I think it was 9, he started developing an eating disorder and compulsive exercising to try and keep up with his father and be as good as him or better than him or whatever. And so you can sort of see that in the flashes in the mirror as he's growing up. And the last one, actually, he's cut his hair, which is important because Elijah's father has sort of signature long hair, which Elijah has also had growing up. He essentially looks like a mini version of his father for a long, long time until he cuts his hair and he's just like, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And this is almost a decade after his father has passed away. Now, his father passed away when Elijah was 15 and he was in battle. There's actually more to this part of the story, but I'm going to keep it brief. He was shot off his horse in battle in the Midlands, and he died. The problem with that is that left the army without its general. And of course there was somebody in a higher position to take his place, but the main goal of the army was always going to be to make Elijah their general. Even if he wasn't good at it, they needed him as a figurehead, as a becker to lead the army, to just be his father again. And so immediately, as soon as his father died, they started promoting Elijah up the chain of command just as fast as possible. So there's a clip in the video where it's like, I bought a carburetor age 16. The carburetor bit isn't important. The 16 bit is, because he got promoted to second lieutenant at the ripe old age of 16. Because they were just like, you're going up there. You're gonna lead it. You're gonna lead this damn army, man. You're gonna be a general before you're 30. I swear to God. That was essentially the thing of it. And it's essentially, they groomed him to be his father, is what it is. And that's very sad. It was very sad for him. Moving on to something a bit more happy, which lines up a bit more with what I'm drawing, which I hope you're enjoying it. I hope, because it's kind of cute. It made me happy to draw. It's cute. So the other thing about Elijah, which certainly isn't helped by the fact that he desperately wants his father's approval even after he died, is that he is gay. He obviously has been his whole life, but like sort of more came to that realization when he was about 13 and he met Seven McMillan, which is this sweet man who I'm drawing here. He has, you know, sort of like the long strawberry blonde hair. And they met in middle school, and it was really just sort of a classic example of, you know, just like this absolute jock Chad Elijah. And Seven, who is like a sweet, he's quite geeky, he's, you know, quite different from Elijah in a lot of ways, but they love each other. And I'll give a brief explanation on actually what I'm drawing right here. So the first one, you can see they're kind of like walking along, you can't tell much from the background, but they're actually walking along the side of like a cliff face, which is around by Elijah's house. And every time they'd walk home from school together, they would stay far away from each other until they got around the cliff face, and then they were out of view of everybody and they would hold hands. Because Elijah was terrified of anybody, let alone his father, anybody knowing that he was gay, and he continued this fear well into adulthood. Because before his father died, what he was afraid of was that his father would lash out violently, not only towards him, but towards Seven as well, and he was so afraid of that. But then after his father died, there were so many more eyes on him, because he was now his father in the eyes of the public. So he couldn't do it. He couldn't let that image down, essentially. Now, the second image is, some of you might think it's a bit strange, that it needs a little bit more explanation. So, Seven has a sister who is the only person who knew about Elijah and Seven's relationship, because she pretended to be Elijah's girlfriend for a long time so that he could come over. And so what's happening here is that Seven kind of got fed up with the whole thing, and he was just like, take me on one date. Take me on one date and like hold hands with me in public. And he was just like, I am going to dress up as my sister and we are going to go on a date, and that's what's going to happen. So that's what he did. And come the end of the date, Elijah was just like, this is very strange. I don't want to kiss you. And Seven was like, why? And he's like, because you look like a girl and you look like your sister and it's strange. And I love you more when you're you. And that was also a very sweet thing. They went on like a full date and they like held hands in public and that because no one could tell that Seven was a man. So that's what that was. And the last one is just them hanging out, playing video games in Elijah's room on like a boxy old black and white TV. And Elijah's just playing with Seven's hair, as you do. It's very cute. What else do I have to talk about? Oh yeah, there is a couple of clips in the animation where it goes, my favorite flavored sweets are raspberry amphetamines. And two things here, I'll just briefly explain them. There's two things here, I'll just briefly explain them. They're not super relevant to what I've been talking about, but they are just parts of Elijah's life. The first one is the strawberry chapstick, which is something that he got yelled at once because he and Seven had been like kissing at home, and his dad had come home, so they like, you know, like straighten up, get far away from each other, and he comes up to Elijah's room, say something to him, and he's just like, what the hell is on your mouth? What is on your mouth? And it was Seven's strawberry chapstick that he wore. And Elijah was just like, oh, I borrowed Seven's chapstick. And Elijah's dad just sort of looks at him and is like, don't do that. Don't do that. That's sus. Don't do that. And then he leaves. And Elijah's just like, well, there you go. That's essentially what happened with that. And then the drink falling over is that essentially just being a teenage boy in the army with a lot of stress on him to be his father, he, you know, sort of started leaning on alcohol as a crutch. And it didn't last for very long, but he sort of developed an unhealthy relationship with alcohol for a time, and it sort of ended when he hit Seven at one point while he was drunk. And when he realized what he did, he was like, oh, no, this has to stop. I'm becoming sober, and that's that. And he didn't drink again after that. And this isn't really evidenced by anything I've made so far, but like, when they were 16, I believe it was, Seven gave Elijah a promise ring. That one day, when Elijah was general and when he was, you know, respected and didn't have anybody above him who could give him consequences, he and Seven would finally get married and he would like come out and it would be great. When Elijah hit him, the promise ring left like a gash on his face, a small one. And so Seven like reminds him about it because he's got like a tiny scar on his face. And I know people are going to say like, you know, domestic violence, that's terrible. It wasn't ever an ongoing thing. It was like a one-time thing, and Elijah was just like, oh shit. Seven knew that he didn't mean to do that, and he appreciated his efforts afterwards to make sure it never happened again, and it never did. So that's sort of how that went, but there was like a rocky patch in there for a while. Because you can imagine as Seven, you get tired after a long time of just being like, no, I have no boyfriend, no, I'm not gay, no, I'm this, no, I'm that, no, I don't know this man. Like, that's sort of what their relationship was for a while, except behind closed doors, so you can imagine it gets really tiring, and he sort of was wearing thin. What else do I have to talk about? I think that's the end. I think that's all. That's everything. I think I've talked about everything in the animation. So I'm sorry if this was super rambly and made no sense at all, but I hope that you have sort of a better understanding of the backstory, and maybe you enjoyed me talking about it a little bit, and maybe you'd like to stay around to hear more about it, because this is, of course, a backstory to one of my characters, and none of this takes place in the actual plot of the story. It's just what contributes to the way that Elijah is. And so if you'd like to know more about this story, I of course will be posting more about it. I love my OCs, and right, I remember what else I wanted to talk about. Lots of people have been asking for a part 2. And the thing about that is, okay, I really appreciate that. It means a lot to hear that people are like, this is so good, can we get more of it? And which, yes, I will be posting more about my OCs and different animations on them. Will I be doing a direct sequel to this animation? Probably not soon, because that's just not sort of how I go about things. Typically, I hear an audio and I'm like, oh, I can make something of this. This relates to this and this and that. And so for me to just be like, I need to make a second version of this. This is kind of a good summarization of Elijah's upbringing, and I feel like there isn't a lot more that I could add to this that isn't touching on the same points. And so I do appreciate you all, and there will be more animations on different characters and on Elijah as well. But direct sequels to this, I can't promise that. But maybe, but I can't promise it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to thank you all again for all the love and support, and I'm sorry if this video is kind of rambly. You can probably tell that I'm not used to having many people in my audience, but it's really cool that I do now. It's really nice, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. So, with that being said, that I believe brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully I've touched on everything that I meant to. You can tell that I haven't scripted this. I've stopped scripting my videos. I just feel like that's a very robotic way of making them. Maybe that's just me. Maybe you'd rather I do that so I don't go on and on like this. But anyway, if you liked this video, and I definitely hope you did, please drop a like. If you didn't, it's a little bit weird that you're still here, but hey, drop a dislike. If you'd like to be notified of all my future videos, go ahead and subscribe and hit the little bell notification icon thingy. Yes. So, if you'd like to follow me on my socials, you can find me on TikTok and you can find me on Instagram. Links are in the description. I also have a Ko-fi now, so if you'd like to buy me a Ko-fi to stay up at night while I work on my animations, that would be much appreciated. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.